Hello and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. I'm sure this one's one that really a lot of people are excited for. It's an early preview of Nagrand. Now this video is actually split into two different halves. Essentially, the zone was really unstable when I got lots of lovely looking daytime footage, so what I'm going to do here is show you a bit of a compilation of the really cool daytime clips. However, during the more sort of dull nighttime in Nagrand, I actually managed to get a full tour of the zone. I went around the whole circumference of it, then took a little bit of a peek at the middle. So yeah, this is just starting off at the Circle of Elements or whatever it's called, showing you some of the nice daytime footage. Later on, we're going to get to see places like the new Highmaul raid, Kilsorrow Fortress, there's the Ring of Blood, you can just see it there for a second, and then also Oshu'Gun and Talar. Gotta say though, Nagrand is looking really cool. I was originally slightly worried that Nagrand would suffer from being fixed in a way. Of course, one of the really charming things about Nagrand was all the floating islands and that stuff, and they are gone. They're not there. However, if you look around the zone, you'll find that, first of all, as you can see in this clip here, the grass is far more lush. There's a way higher density in the ground clutter. The trees still look great. There's lots of little hills and mountains and things, and in general, it does look relatively sprawling, and I'm very happy with how it's turned out so far. In fact, one cool thing that you'll notice with the ground clutter is that as your character walks through it, the grass and stuff kind of, moves based on your feet, and that's a really nice, just increase in fidelity. So here is just this little spire with a goblin on it, which I thought was very interesting. That thing over there is either Kilsorrow Fortress, or it's an ogre place. I'm not 100% sure, I couldn't see any NPCs in it. It looks kind of ogre-y, but I suppose it would also fit the orcs. I think some of the story of this zone involves the Kilsorrow people trying to get their way into Oshu'Gun, I believe. I'm pretty sure that was a similar enough thing going on in the Burning Crusade, but anyway, there's stuff going on with Oshu'Gun because obviously there's like a Naru in there or something. Now, Nagrand is mostly finished looking, however this is still the alpha. There are a few times in this video where you will see parts of the grass where it's just the texture and there's no ground clutter, and you'll see just various little things like that. So, of course, alpha's alpha, guys. Or beta even, whatever it is now. Yeah, this is all sort of in development, and I should probably also just mention, I know that this may seem a little bit janky, me using, my class mechanics and like Farsight and Eagle Eye to peek around the zone, but I've done all my checks and things like that, and it is permissible, so don't worry, this isn't some sort of like illegal Uber hack source thing, though honestly it would be pretty badass if it was some sort of illegal Uber hack source. Anyway, let's keep on going through the zone. Now this is where I cut to the main tour, and this basically just starts off on the hills to the, I believe to the west of the Circle of Elements. And this is basically a lot of the Ogre area, and this is where the Highmaul raid is going to be located. As you can see, it's night and things are a little bit dull, and the right-hand side of Nagrand definitely feels far less finished than the left-hand side of Nagrand. However, here we are, and this is Highmaul. This is going to be the very first raid, the equivalent of Mogushan Vaults, and I've got to say, it's looking really cool. Now, as I move closer to the spire, you're going to notice that things just don't look finished. You know what? That's because they're not finished, and that's absolutely okay. Don't for a second think that Blizzard is going to give you uncluttered ground and various things like that. This is an ultra-early preview, just giving you a bit of a sneak. Again, if you look at that like swampy area, some of it's not 100% finished looking. And there is Oshu'Gun. Now, Oshu'Gun doesn't really look as majestic in this as it did in the Burning Crusade, unfortunately. I don't know if it'll ever phase differently, but right now it's got a whole bunch of like trees and swamps and stuff around it. And there does seem to be a decent amount of clutter with NPCs and that kind of thing. And as you can see there to the right, I don't think I panned there again, but there was a small little Iron Horde base. And I'd imagine that the Iron Horde are trying to capture Oshu'Gun so they can use whatever powers inside it. If you don't know the lore of Oshu'Gun, it's actually a spaceship, like a Draenor trans-dimensional spaceship thingy-majiggy, and it's how they essentially got here. However, they of course crash-landed. They later on would basically steal the Exodar back from Kil'Thas's Blood Elves, and then they of course crash-landed that in Azeroth as well, so really, they spent about, 10,000 years being excellent pilots, and then it all sort of went to crap in their final two flights, didn't it? Still, it is really nice to see more hints of Draenor civilization. You can see Talar here, however, things aren't looking too good for the inhabitants of Talar. Unfortunately, I mean, I liked the Draenei, and oh, look at that! Talar, you'd nearly think I timed that, wouldn't you? Okay, so you'll see lots of dead Draenei, or at least a few of them, and quite a few Horde people. Now, I'm assuming that this is I think the Warsong clan? It's Gromash's clan that live in, inside Nagrand. So they seem to have raided the place and killed a whole bunch of Draenei. Now, interestingly enough, the area behind Talar is completely different. There's a bit of an Iron Horde, or at least, actually that looks more like our traditional Horde, or maybe it's the Warsong Horde, maybe that's where we actually get our Azeroth Horde style from. The Warsong clan of orcs, that is. Anyway, there are orc bases behind the place, which probably doesn't bode well for the people inside Talar. Of course, things are looking rather dull here. Earlier on, you got to see more bright shots. I actually recorded this at 1 PM BST, but of course, when you move that into American time, it sort of screws things up. Now here's what I thought was Kilsora Fortress, but just looking at things, I'm 99.9% sure it's ogre stuff. It's ogre sized, and ogre like construction usually makes use of rocks that are that size. Perhaps that little thing over there in the left of the screen is Kilsoro, I'm just not 100% sure. I can't actually get my physical character in there so that I can see exactly what area of the zone I'm in. So yeah, not 100% sure. Hell, maybe the Kilsoro... Actually, yeah, did the Kilsoro orcs not take the place over from the ogres that owned it? I suppose that would make sense. Here's a little cool thing, it's a glider. I've got no idea if you'll be able to pick it up and use it, but I love it if maybe Far Cry 3 style, you could just hop on the glider and they could just have that being a cool little thing inside the zone. And of course, it could also just be a flight path, you know, yeah, I'm not 100% sure there. And there's a lot of gnomish-looking stuff around here. I don't think there's really any gnomes in other places in this zone, though. Of course, if you actually just check out my Spires of Wrack video when it comes up tomorrow, there is a lot of goblin stuff there. Both, I think, the Steamweedle-style ones are there, but also the Venture Company are there, so there should be some cool little hijinks going on in the south of that area. Okay, so we're actually nearly back to where we sort of started off at the Ring of Elements. You can just barely make out the ogre stronghold that the sort of circular tour started at. But essentially we have now came full circle, and I suppose that makes sense, and hey, we're even at the Ring of Elements, it's all just like it's the Illuminati shit going on here, guys. Anyway, so there you go, another little panoramic shot, or cinematic shot of the Throne of Elements, which honestly is looking really cool. Now, one thing that slightly surprised me is that it's actually using the old style elements, though I suppose lore-wise, those guys wouldn't have actually changed from now to the Burning Crusade, and I think they can get away with it actually, it's cool enough. One thing that I really appreciate though is the rocks, the detailing and shading, and maybe I suppose it's, yeah, probably bump mapping or something, whatever, on the rocks is looking great. They've got a lot more definition to them, and yeah, it's just really, really cool. So that's really all the things I have to say about this zone. Soon enough, we're going to make our way over to the Circle of Blood. Now, the Circle of Blood actually looks really different from what it used to. Here's some of the new cleft tubes and stuff like that in the Tabuk. The new Tabuk model is looking really nice, and so is the cleft tube one, and there's a new Elec. The new Elecs are actually defined. The old ones were just, I suppose, they were kind of just shitty elephants. Whereas these feel far more like, oh, hello there. Yeah, these feel far more like their own sort of creature that's a bit more unique. Like, they've got that big faceplate thingy going on. Yeah, I think for a few clips here, I ended up jumping right in front of a whole bunch of those owl creatures. I don't know if they're going to get a new model, and they certainly do look a little bit out of place when compared to the other things. However, it's still beta, you know, they're still adding in new features and new models and new things all the time, so I would imagine that they will be updated. Because look, everything needs to be new and shiny. There needs to be some sort of consistency there in terms of the overall fidelity of the game. And now you can see a little bit of, I think, Hala, or at least this is the area near the middle where you could sort of nearly see that. It doesn't seem to be as prominent though in this zone as it was back in the original Nagrand. I think it was really just trying to be a big PvP objective then, whereas now it's just some random thing. So there's Talar again, and let's hopefully jump, yeah, there we go, this is when I jump into the Circle of Blood. Hopefully we'll be having some cool little arena-based hijinks over here. It should be a lot of fun. There's lots of NPCs here, which, while they are ogres and orcs and things like that, were not enemies to me as an alliance character. Lots of them were green or orange when I highlighted them, which is pretty cool. Anyway, that's basically all I have to say about the zone. The video will probably go on for another minute or something, but I'll leave you here, so thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out the channel for other zone previews similar to this one, and I will see you next time.